That's the bill. That's
I open the subcommittee meeting of Children and Family Law on retained bill HB 1590, training regarding abuse and neglect detection. The purpose of this is not a hearing. We do not take testimony from the public at this. It is not a hearing. We've had the hearing on this. And anyone who has new information can get that to the committee as a whole by emailing us. What we are here to do is to make an informal recommendation to the committee as a whole, saying either yes, we suggest further legislation, or no, we do not suggest further legislation on this subject. That's all we do. We don't amend the bill that we are holding, 1590. We don't amend it. We basically, come on in, have a seat, pick a name. I am suggesting that the committee as a whole meets on Tuesday, October 22nd at 10:30. And the reason for that is there's some people from this committee who are also, excuse me, I have That was just a clarification of what I've already said. We do not amend the bill before us. We do not vote on 1590. We simply use it as a jumping off point to suggest either, yes, further legislation would be a good idea, and which have at it. November is bill filing time. Or we suggest, no, we don't recommend further legislation, which you can go and file a bill on it anyway. That's all we do. We make this as a subcommittee recommendation that goes to the committee as a whole. I am suggesting Tuesday, October 22nd at 10:30 a.m. The reason for that is we have a few members of CFL that are also on the special family thing. So that way we can be in the same building sequentially. We will also have retained Bill 1269 on the use of restraints in schools, and Representative Petrino chairs the subcommittee on that. Once again, this is a work session for the subcommittee. It is not a public hearing. Therefore, if you have an update, further information, something you would like us to know, some specifics, you may email the entire Children and Family Law Committee. And with that, since I believe Representative Long, you were the prime sponsor of the original bill, were you? Then I would say turn your mic on and you may make your pitch one way or the other.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I'll start off by saying I believe that this I would make the recommendation that this be would further legislated should be considered. In that there were questions that we heard in testimony from the Hospital Association that should be considered, and also there was another entity that wanted to be involved in this, which I thought was interesting. They wanted to be one of the mandated to take this training. What training, identifying what the training would be, how often would people need to be certified on this training? And other than that, I believe those were the only potential issues that would have in this bill.
As you recollect, the reason we, you and I know, both voted to retain it was we thought that there were some problems with the bill that we didn't know at first, but came up and seemed to be beyond the power of immediate amendment. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're getting a consensus.
Yep. Okay. Anyone else wish to, on the committee wish to speak one way or the other to, do we recommend further legislation? Representative Seidel, you're always backlighted. I don't know whether it's the building across the street or your halo.
It is
Probably
her
both.
halo.
It is her halo. Thank you very much.
It's a little crooked. I also think that we should move forward with continued legislation on this bill. I think it's got great potential. I do agree that I think it should be a more broad group of people, that not just so limited on who has to take this mandatory training. Our first responders, child specialists, and all of that, I think are sadly being left out of the group. But I think would benefit from that because they do tend to interact with these children, with these families when these issues occur. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for letting me speak.
Let me ask Representative Long, since you will not be coming back to the House, do you have somebody who's ready to file a bill in November? And the reason I ask is so that questions we might raise could be forwarded along.
Yeah, well, I mean,
You don't have to mention who it
I'll
is.
be
if you
open,
want.
but in between door to door, I haven't been able to come up with somebody
Okay.
that I haven't. But if I make the Senate, they have a longer time. I don't know if this should be brought here to the House and to the Senate.
All I'm suggesting is if you are aware that there is a House member who's going to file a bill along these lines, that person gets in contact with us because we're making some suggestions.
Correct.
We can't amend this bill, but
Correct.
we might speak into the next one, if
Sure.
you would.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
absolutely.
Anyone else? Hi. It's okay. All right, forgiven. Now, anything to say about this? We are it's not a public hearing. We are discussing amongst ourselves the bill about mandated education to senior medical providers on training on abuse and neglect of children. And all we can do is make a recommendation, either yes, let's have a bill, or not have a bill. That recommendation goes to the full CFL committee when we meet on October 22nd at 10:30. So do you have any thoughts about this matter?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm in favor of recommending it for legislation. I was really taken by the testimony that I heard, and I would be happy to work on a bill with whomever might want to do that.
Representative DeSimone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too would welcome the opportunity to work with Representative Long, current Representative Long, on a bill that we can introduce next year. And hopefully, when it gets over to the Senate, we can work together to get it passed over there too.
Sure.
Thank you.
Representative Ball.
Thank you, Chairman Pearson, sorry. I too agree that we need to work on this a bit further and bring it forward.
Now, that leaves it to me. I have sent individual emails to numbers of people, the categories of which are mentioned in the bill. That is to say, physicians, nurse practitioners, and physician's assistant. I made sure that I sent it to Democrats as well as Republicans. And the answer I got back from everyone is there's already mandatory medical CEU requirements as to the number of hours a physician, and I would assume nurse practitioners and physician's assistants have to have each year. To mandate something, and we don't know what the new bill might say, does that mean it is now taking the place of, let's say, 2 hours of something else? Or does this mean it is yet additional study that they will have to do? So I got some pushback. I also got volunteered from several of them. We had studied this and in med school along the way, and everyone that said that said, and I have also reported one or more people as here's a potential problem. Similarly, I'm hesitant to tell a profession how to do its job. We've often said we shouldn't legislate the practice of medicine. We've often said that here. And wouldn't it be better if the professional association were lobbied so that any additional CEUs were from them and not from us? In addition, it begs the question, a recognized accredited training program, according to whom? That needs to be said. And then finally, under listing senior medical personnel as mandatory reporters, everybody is a mandatory reporter. Should we ask, for example, gym coaches to be required to take this training? Because they see the kids running around in gym clothes, and oh my gosh, that sure doesn't look consistent with a kid being rough and tumble. That looks different. How about counselors? How about others? We are looking at what sometimes people say the first line of defense. I might suggest to you, we know people who their kid hasn't been to a doctor in umpteen years. So all the training in the world cannot detect something if the subject isn't present, but the gym coach might be. So with all of those objections, nevertheless, to me, they are things to ponder in another bill. So it may sound to you like I would say, no, we don't need further legislation. I'm suggesting we could use more fully informed legislation. This is not to say anything against the prime sponsor of the bill 1590. It is to say we've learned a lot in the process. There's new information, new things that help us detect better. I'm just suggesting that if a bill is filed in November, all of these things that we've all said are taken into account. Anything else from the committee? Seeing none, we don't vote actually, but we can nod or raise a thumb. If you are of the opinion this is worthy of further consideration, put your thumb up. So that looks to me like 6 and if not, put your thumb up. That looks like none. So it's the recommendation of this group to the Children and Family Law Committee as a whole, which will meet on Tuesday, October 22nd at 10:30. It is the unanimous suggestion that we go forward. And with that, we are finished.